everyone, and welcome to the Wealthrooms YouTube channel. I'm Grant van Sale, and today we have the great privilege of getting to know and spend some time with SA's very own 2017 bodyboard world champion, Iain Campbell. Today's video is all about overcoming the impossible. Iain, how are you doing, buddy?
Yeah, I'm great. Thanks for having me, bro.
Awesome, man. I'm so excited because, I don't know if you know this, but I'm actually, I did some bodyboarding back in the day. I got to Boerland level. I mean, I'm a Somerset West boy, you're a Strand boy, so you must probably never came across me. I was a bit too old for you, man.
Yeah, I think we might have just missed each other.
Yeah.
I didn't really, growing up in Durban, I didn't really take much notice of the other teams and exactly who was in them. But now that I'm starting to meet a lot more people down here, it just seems that, everyone had a small part to play in the whole bodyboarding scene. And everyone that I meet from down here, I'm like, damn, I wish I could have met these guys earlier, because there's a bunch of legends from down here, bro.
Oh, lacquer, bro. So tell us this dream of yours to become the bodyboarding world champ. When did this all start?
And I mean, so basically how I got into bodyboarding was I first started out as a lifesaver. I was doing, like nippers lifesaving. I know Strand Lifesaving Club was definitely one of the clubs that we went up against. And that kind of like fueled the fire for me to get into the sport of bodyboarding. They had a race there where you'd grab one of their soft bodyboards and race around some boys out the back and back in. And every time I used to catch waves back into the beach, I used to get a little cheeky and try ride them and do little rolls and stuff. And that kind of really fueled the fire for me to go and start competing. And at the age of about 11, I started competing at a provincial level. And this is really where the dream started of, watching these guys like Ben Player and Jeff Hubbard and Mark Stewart and all these bigger names in the industry. And I was like, man, it would be so cool to be like one of those guys one day. And, now it's that dream just turned into reality really quickly once I left high school and went to start studying. And it really just the snowball just kept gaining momentum more and more. And the dream kept on becoming more of a reality the further I went down the sport. And in 2017, it just all came to fruition where I ended up in a really good position early on in the year. And, the ball just kept rolling and everything kept going in my favor. I've got an amazing support team here that, was backing me the entire time. And it's not a one-man job. And when you get to that level and that year, I had an amazing team backing me. And I'm just so fortunate to be able to say that I've lived through, this dream that I've had for ages.
Awesome, man. I was actually following you quite a bit from around about 2016. I was like, who's this golden boy rocking on the sea, And well, it's been an interesting journey for you because it hasn't been the smoothest sailing. And even 2017 was a rocky year for you. Tell us some of those obstacles that you faced during that year.
Man, well, like the biggest one that comes to mind is just the funding behind the sport. It's a real difficult sport, and because it's so niche and because the market is not booming at all, it was really tough for me to kind of break through initially, coming from South Africa, earning South African rands, and then going over and spending US dollars or whatever else it's going to be, euros in Europe. And that was one thing that I really struggled with. And, even to today, we were speaking earlier, and it's just there's so many obstacles that you have to jump through and kind of manage your money and your time and where you put that time, because you don't want to put too much time into your work and then not enough time into your surfing. And trying to get to that level was always such a big juggle with, the time and those kind of aspects that when I got to 2016 and I was making enough money to actually do this professionally, I was, full-time bodyboarding. And that was quite a cool thing for me, because I'd never, to break through and to get into that position is something that not a lot of guys can say that they've done. And just for me to get to that point, I was like, wow, okay, I'm actually doing this. And that like really kind of inspired me to keep going and fuel that fire that I had so much. And 2017, end of 2016, I was like, couldn't stay up in Durban anymore. I was just getting too involved in partying on the weekends and just doing the wrong stuff that I probably shouldn't have been doing as a professional athlete. And I decided to move down here to Strand, Somerset West area. And I can quite easily say that was the best decision of my life. I met some amazing people here, a great team of professionals that have backed me the whole way through. And as I said before, it's so much like people don't understand how much you need those people backing you in order to achieve these dreams. And from Philip Null, my trainer here in Somerset West, all the way down to like my best mates that I had back home in Durban, and my family and friends and everyone else. And it was like, that's something that I keep telling people, but I don't think they really understand like how much those people play a part. Even in 2017, I came down here, I said to Phil, I really want to win a world title. Like that was what I said to him at the beginning of 2017. And he's like, well, let's do it. And I was like, okay, well, this guy's backing me. So now to get the next person. And halfway through that year, I got diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, which is a type of inflammatory bowel disease. And that really put me on the back foot. I lost like 6 kgs in the space of about a month. And I really, really started feeling the toll of this illness. And without these people around me helping me with my diet and training and getting back to like a really good weight and everything else, there's no ways that you can go through that alone. And I just see so many other people like, just kind of getting to that point and just kind of like, oh, no, I can't do this anymore, and just giving up. And when I went over to Europe after being diagnosed with this, that's when like this whole thing really started to kind of all seem to like work out. And I went straight into the next event and ended up winning back-to-back events in Europe. And that just blew my mind. I was like, wow, okay, this is like something that can actually happen. And I'm actually going to realize my dream in the next event. And yeah, just everyone behind me and pushing me, and through adversity and everything else that the universe threw at me, I was able to come out on top. And I'm just so grateful for everyone being there in those rough times, and the people that stood by me in those tough times. It's like, that's the kind of stuff that, it'll be with me for the rest of my life.
Yeah. I mean, that's absolutely awesome. I mean, a big part of you getting through these major obstacles, it sounds like your support team is absolutely critical for you. And obviously being on world tour, I mean, it's so rad to be able to travel the world and get around, but at the same time, you're 2017 world champion, and there must be so much pressure on you to achieve results. What are some of the practical ways that you manage that pressure?
Well, I think I'm very fortunate able to be in the ocean, because I found that the ocean is such a good getaway for managing stress and the levels that you really get onto. In my sport, I'm looking where I can, and no matter what the conditions are, I want to be performing at that high level. And I saw that quite a lot of the time when I went into the water and I surfed, I like put so much pressure on myself to be this world champion guy, performing at every chance that I could, doing these massive backflips and getting huge barrels and doing better than everyone else in the water. And that was actually so negative forming in my brain, because it ended up putting like that much more added pressure and stress onto the whole thing. And it was always such a struggle to kind of manage those levels. And now I've got to the point where it's like, if I get to that level, I'd rather just go swim in the ocean, or, spend time on the beach, or not really focus on the sport itself, but just focus on enjoying my time when I am away. And I think that's such a big thing to bring into the sport. Because I really found that without doing that management of your stress levels and the pressures that come with, bodyboarding at this high level, you end up just putting so much pressure on yourself and you end up hating it. And that's when you end up leaving the sport. So my main focus was actually to more enjoy myself in these times, travel with good friends, eat good food, spend time in amazing places with amazing people, rather than putting the pressure on myself of you've got to perform, you've got to get to, these next levels and achieve those big things. And obviously with some help from mental coaches and Philip, because he's played a really big part in my career thus far and will continue to play like a massive role. But without that kind of support team and pushing me in the right directions and helping me mentally, and obviously my girlfriend Rosie is another huge part of that. And it's just like that kind of stuff, I keep going on about these people that help me out, but it's just such a big part of my life and what I've been able to achieve in the last couple of years.
Awesome, man. I absolutely love that. Not many of us know that special thing that can just take that load off our shoulders, and I love that the way you put it, like getting into the ocean just helps you relax and forget about the nonsense that this world is throwing at us. So let's talk about 2017. You got out the water, they carried you up the beach and you got to lift that trophy. What was going through your mind?
Yeah, man, it's really, like, quite honestly, that is such a blur for me. Hey, I had a really good opportunity to win there, and I knew what I had to do. Like, I knew personally, and not a lot of people on the beach knew. So it was quite like, I was going into that semi-final, and I knew that I had to win the semi-final in order to win the world title. And before we were paddling in, the guy that I was competing against, he was like, man, do you really, like, is this all you have to do and you've won? And I just like completely blocked him out. It was actually pretty harsh, but I mean, it's like, at that stage I was like, I know what I have to do here, and I'm gonna do this, like, no matter what comes my way, I am going to do this. And I think getting out of the water there was just so much adrenaline and so much, just amp pumping through me. To be there with Rosie and her brother and, the rest of these people that are on the world tour with me, and everyone just, everyone was just so stoked for me. And I think that's like, it's one of the really, really cool things about the sport is people are just like so supportive, and, whatever it takes, these guys will come up to you and just congratulate you and go out of their way. And I think it's just such a big thing to say about the sport and about everything that has to do with bodyboarding, just to have that camaraderie and that support team from everyone. And I was just like, I'm just so stoked to be able to live in that moment and get the opportunity to kind of share my story. And after that situation, I came home and continued with filming a movie which I've put out on YouTube called Chasing the Southern Sun. And that was kind of like a wrap up of the whole year. And it just, when I watch back, it's just so emotional for me to just kind of see, the different aspects that I went through, from the highs of winning events and placing super well, all the way down to getting sick and losing all that weight and then going back. And, it was just such a roller coaster ride. And I think that moment, it's you can't really just talk about that one moment that's where I'm lifting the trophy and it's there, It's all those times before, like the build up to it and how it all went and the process of getting to that point that means so much more than that trophy that's sitting here.
Yeah.
And, I think that's what a lot of people don't understand is they don't see the full picture. They just see this end result. And there's so much more that goes on behind the scenes for people. Whatever it is that you're doing, whether you're achieving in business or whether you are achieving in your sports, there's so many more obstacles and processes that you go through. It's like waking waking up at 5 a.m. every single morning to go and train before you go surf, and those small things, people don't see it. And those are the times where you really realize, you know, how strong you are and how mentally fit you are and what you can actually achieve as a human being. And I think it showed me, and it showed a lot of the people around me, and I'm hoping that this will then show future generations that, you know, whatever you put your mind to, you can achieve, and not thinking about that end goal, but rather come back to your present and rather work through the processes in order to get to that point.
Awesome. And I absolutely love that, man. And one thing I'm definitely going to be take away from this is, and I mean, you've reiterated it a number of times, is to achieve successes, you need the right support team. Now, before we head off, we are in the most craziest time that the world has ever faced and seen. Tell me, what words of motivations do you have for the guys and ladies out there listening to you right now?
I think, you know, it's, you know, we've spoken about this already, but it's just like this, no one could have predicted this. You know, no one could have said to you that in 2020, we're all going to be sitting at home in a lockdown situation with, you know, your funding or your salaries or whatever it is that you are doing, you know, that'll all be cut away. And I just think, you know, as difficult as it is, and I am one of these people that really struggles when I don't have a plan in place, and I don't have goals that I've set. I really struggle to kind of get all my ideas in a row so that I can kind of put them forward and be like, okay, this is what I'm going to do today. And then if this happens, then I can follow on. And that's kind of how I live my life. You know, the ocean's such an unpredictable place that I've got to I live week to week because I don't know what's coming the week after when it comes to swell. So I think when it comes to, you know, everyone else and your daily life, you've got to stay positive in these times. And, you know, it's way easier said than done. But what I've started to do now is find different revenue streams to kind of work through. And I find that that's probably the best way for me to be on top of it and stay positive and stay healthy, is to figure out different sources of income that'll work for me, and then kind of go down those paths instead of just having one plan. And when that fails, you just completely off the rails. Rather set up multiple plans so that if A doesn't work, you've got B. If B doesn't work, then you've got C. And this is now what I've started to do. You know, it's taken me a couple months of this lockdown to realize, okay, I need to be doing this and I need to be doing that. And if those two don't work, then I need to be doing the third. And I think you got to, in these times, you know, you got to plan for the worst possible outcome. And unfortunately, that's where we are sitting right now. And for a lot of people, I know we're struggling, and I know it's been a real tough time, but you got to stay positive. You got to focus on what you can, control the controllables, and just let everything else happen. And I think if we focus on that and we focus on what we can control and exactly how we can work through this all, we're going to come out of it on the other side better people, stronger, both mentally and physically. And I just think, you know, it'll be a better, cleaner world once we leave this pandemic behind us.
Wow, bro, I'm speechless. I don't even know how to respond to that. I think that was beautiful, man. And I think you're 100% right. It's survival of the fittest, and also just adapt now. We just have to realize that we have to adapt. We've got no choice but to adapt. And I love that. So I just want to say thank you so much for your time. I know you are missing out on some ways. It's probably to be speaking to us. Iain, if O's wanted to get hold of you or check out some of your stuff, where can they get hold of you or check it out?
So obviously, I've got all the social media links. So if it's YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, I'm probably most active. If people want to reach me on Instagram, you can message me. My handle is Iain Campbell _. And then on my YouTube channel, I put out 2 videos a week at the moment. I've been pushing those quite hard. So it's been pretty cool for the response. And thank you everyone for the support. And thanks for having me on your channel. It's just awesome. I just love kind of meeting new people, doing some different things, and just, you know, sharing my story, because I think it's one that'll really motivate people and kind of get people, you know, thinking twice about certain situations that they put themselves in. And, you know, if I can change just one person's life, I will deem that as a success. So thank you very much for the opportunity to just chat to your people. And yeah, thanks for your time.
Awesome, man. Well, I can tell you for certain that you've definitely changed my life. So you've achieved your goal. Well done, buddy. And thanks so much once again for your time. And I'm going to say that's a wrap. And thank you all for watching. And guess what? If you liked it, give us a thumbs up and hit subscribe below if you want to keep informed with the next video that's going to come. That's probably a week's time or so. And if you feel that any family or friends are going to be motivated by Iain, 2017 bodyboarding world champion, please feel free to share the video with them. Until next time, ciao.